Y'all, hey, welcome back to my channel. Thanks so much for stopping by, y'all. It's a little overcast and chilly here in the Northland, but I am down for it because it is SummerWeen. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, hang on, I'll explain. But before we get into all that, go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so you can keep up with the shenanigans. Y'all, it is 4th of July week, which is SummerWeen this year. And like I said, if you're unfamiliar with SummerWeen, I will explain. It's a book tag, which means it's a list of suggestions, I guess, of types of books for people to read. It's just a fun little thing that people do to sort of create a community of readers. Well, I'm joining in and I'm doing SummerWeen. So SummerWeen has 5 tags, and they are in no particular order. Read a book at night or in the dark. Read a thriller. Read a book with black or orange on the cover. Read a book set in the fall. And read a novella, a manga, or a graphic novel. Now, all of those obviously can be loosely interpreted because who's gatekeeping the rules? So, I am going to start off with the book with black or orange on the cover. And well, with at least a book with black or orange on the cover. I'm going to read the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. And y'all, I'm going to try to have all of my books be vampire themed or have vampires or something. I don't know why. I just kind of got in my head that I wanted to do a reading vlog reading vampire books. And I couldn't figure out like how I was gonna, I don't know. I couldn't figure out how I was gonna make that work. Especially, I kind of thought of it in the spring. And I was like, how am I gonna make that work? Like spring going into summer, like nobody wants to talk vampires. I mean, everybody wants to talk vampires, but you know what I mean. Like folks want to read summary books and beach reads and all those kind of things. Well, then SummerWeen came up and I was like, I'm reading vampire books. So, I'm going to start with the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. And I don't really know a whole lot about it other than I've read reviews that say it's not what you think and that it's gross. So, I think I mentioned when I hauled this book, which I got it, I'm sure I got it used because it's a big, beautiful hardcover and I wouldn't pay $30 for a big, beautiful, random hardcover book. Although I did put, well, anyway, let's get into how much I paid for. Remember the villa when I bought it brand new? So, I mentioned that somebody in my book club wanted, my Southern book club, actually wanted to do this book, but I had read reviews that said it was gross, like that there were really gross parts in it. So, and there are like gross things about vampires. I don't know why I think I want to read vampire books. I will see how this goes. But anyway, I'm going to start reading this. And I gotta tell y'all. So, like I said, you can loosely interpret the SummerWeen rules. Y'all, there's a rule in our house that you're not allowed to watch or read scary things at night, like in the dark. And when I say there's a rule in the house, what I mean is there's a rule that I'm not allowed to do those things. And one day I was sitting on the couch reading, I think it was The Haunting of Hill House. And it was like middle of the afternoon, the dogs and I are sitting on the couch, it's broad daylight, but it was like fall, maybe fall into winter time, and it was overcast, and I'm reading along, and time's going by, and I'm completely engrossed in the book, scared out of my wits, not getting up off the couch to turn on a light or anything. And so it's like gradually getting darker because the sun's going down as it will do. Well, I'm reading this book about a haunted house and I hear a door in my house open, and y'all, it scared me so bad. So I jump and scream, which scares the dogs. Bo jumps up and barks, which causes, y'all have probably heard, we have one of those clappers, like the clap on, clap off, the clapper. Well, we have a Darth Vader clapper, so when it goes off, it either says, never underestimate the power of the dark side, or the force is strong with this one. So Bo barks, the clapper goes off, Lord Vader says, whichever, never underestimate the power of the dark side, which scares the dog barks again, I scream again, probably peed my pants a little bit, and then I hear this voice behind me saying, what is going on here? I look up, it's the intern. The intern had come in from work. I had completely lost track of time. completely lost track of time. Thought I was in this haunted house and like doors were opening and ghosts were coming. And the intern is like, you're sitting here in the dark, scaring the dogs. What is going on? I thought we had a rule about this. And y'all, he wasn't wrong. We do have a rule about that. I was just violating it. So I don't know. I'm going to have to figure out something about reading in the dark. But I'm going to get started on this. I will check back in. I'm going to actually start today. So I'll check back in at some point and let y'all know what I think. But I mean, I really don't know anything about it other than that there are probably gross parts. So y'all chill out. I'll be back and let you know how things are going. I had to stop and get some gas, y'all, so I thought I would update you and let you know what I think about the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. So I've really just barely started it, but I like it so far. It has a bunch of the standard tropes. We have the stranger come to town, whom I assume is going to end up being the vampire. There's been no vampiring yet, obviously, but the Southern Book Club is a bunch of Southern women, and there are lots of like stereotypes and tropes rolled into that. So if you're not down for that, this might not be the one for you. But there's like snarkiness and snipiness amongst these women. There's competition. There's like judginess about whose house is or isn't clean enough, and like whose kids are acting all the fool and stuff. So if you feel like those things are going to make you like not enjoy a book, this is not the book for you. But aside from that, we have lots of vampire tropes already. Like I said, we have the single man come to town, and y'all know like vampires have to move around, right? Because you can't hang out in a town for too long because people start to notice that, you know, folks are disappearing, or that you don't age, or that you're creepy and pale and you only come out at night. So none of those things have happened yet, except that the single dude has shown up in town, and our main character has invited him into her house. So that might turn out to be bad because, you know, you got to invite a vampire into your house or he can't come in. So Patricia Campbell is our main character. Well, like our main not vampire character. And bless her heart, she is completely overwhelmed. Her mother-in-law is living with them and she's a little bit outside her head. And Patricia is trying to do everything herself, take care of her house, take care of the mother-in-law, raise the kids, take care of the husband, just all the things. So she's already overwhelmed, and then this stranger shows up in town. So I believe we are being set up for that to sort of be the crux of the whole thing, is like it's all going to kind of revolve around Patricia and her overwhelmedness. Like I said, she's invited the vampire in and he's become very comfortable in her home and around her family. And we've already had like one creepy thing happen. There was a thing with a roach. So again, I told y'all, I think this light, I don't know what, it's like completely overcast. I don't know what's happening with my lighting, but it's bad. So I'm going to finish this quickly. And I'm just going to tell you that I told y'all that I read reviews that this book is gross. And there's already been like a creepy scene with a cockroach. So I suspect it's going to be gross. And y'all know how vampires have, I don't know, like bugs, and they control gross things like bugs and rats and icky stuff. So I know I'm so eloquent today, but I have a feeling that's, I don't know, I suspect that's what's going to end up happening. But I'm like a minute into the book. So let me go. My gas is done. Folks are looking at me like I'm all outside my head sitting here talking to myself. So I'm going to go. I'm going to read some more, and I will check back in probably tomorrow and let y'all know what I have learned. All right? So I'll be back. Y'all, I'm working on the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. I'm enjoying it. I don't know what I told y'all before, but I'm enjoying the development of the characters. There's lots of interplay and relationships between a group of women, and I think some people might find it off-putting, but I think what some people might find off-putting about it is that it's so real. The women are written in a bit of a stereotypical way, and I can see where that would be off-putting. I don't think that that's all that authentic necessarily, but I do find the relationships between the women very authentic and very entertaining. And y'all, I'm just stalling because I gotta tell you that I was sitting inside with the little furry felons who are out here somewhere. They're being too quiet and it's making me nervous. But we were sitting inside reading, and y'all, it got so creepy so fast. I don't want to tell too much as always because I don't want to give spoilers, but this scene with some rats came up so fast that I had to like stop reading and come outside because I don't know, it was just too much. Like I couldn't be reading that kind of like that level of gross and creepy inside my house. Like things were just too close and getting all up on me. So I had to come sit outside in the sunlight and the fresh air to read this book because it was that kind of creepy. I know that's crazy. I know. It's okay. I know. I understand. So I am enjoying the book. It's moving rather quickly, which is good because it is a honker. It's like, I don't know, 350 pages. But it's moving quickly. I'm enjoying it. There have been a couple of scary, like, I don't know, creepy, scary scenes, but I wouldn't call it downright actual, like, scary. Again, it's more like the gross, creepy, crawly stuff. Scary, so far anyway. But I'm going to keep reading and I will check back in and let y'all know how it's going. Y'all, I'm about to get on the bike, obviously. But I wanted to let you know that I have finished and survived the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. I did enjoy it. As y'all know, it was gross. I'm not going to say any more about the grossness. I feel like we've talked enough about that. But I do want to say that I enjoyed the characters, I enjoyed the story, I really liked the ending. It was very much in keeping with sort of the style of the story. And I want to say, I know I've talked a lot about the grossness, and I want to say that there were a lot of like creepy, crawly, gross things. I'm not going to talk about that anymore, but the creepy, crawly, gross things in this book are necessary. I feel like some horror authors use creepy, crawly, gross things sort of superfluously. That's not the word I'm looking for. But they just add it in just to be creepy, crawly, and gross and scary. In this book, they're necessary, like they're part of the actual plot of the story. So there were there were some parts of it that I found completely off-putting, and that's absolutely intentional by the author. He did a great job of that, but again, it's in keeping with the story and it moves the story forward. And even when it's happening...
I'm not sure I understand.
Siri. And even when it's happening, there's like a suggestion that there's more to it than what you're seeing. So I feel like it's a necessary part of this book. It's not just in there like haphazardly thrown in just to creep you out like a 13-year-old boy is writing the book. So that's it. This book is done. I wouldn't necessarily call it an enjoyable read, but it is good. And I think if you like horror and if you don't mind creepy, crawly, gross stuff, you'll like this book. My next read, so this is our black or orange cover book. It could also fit the horror, is it horror? A horror book or whatever, a scary book? I think it could also fit that, but I have something else in mind for that. But first, we're going to have a palate cleanser, and we're going to read Undead and Unwed. Now, I read this literally decades ago, and I don't remember anything about it, except that that's Betsy, and she accidentally becomes a vampire. That's all I remember. It's a very quick read. So I'm going to get on the bike, start this, and I'll come back and let you know how it's going. This might be I think it's our number 4 book tag. It's a novella, almost said anime, that's not right. Novella, manga, or graphic novel. Y'all, I'm not going to read a manga or a graphic novel. This might count, or I might read a true novella, depending on how much time we have left. So let me get on the bike, let me get after this, and I'll come back in a while and let you know how it's going. Y'all, I just wanted to check in quickly and let you know that I've been working my way through Undead and Unwed, and that Vampire Betsy is amazing. So she is what you would get if you're prom queen or a vampire. She's a little ditzy, she's lighthearted, she's got a fun cast of characters around her. She has some very loyal friends, and it's just a fun story. I'm probably just over 3/4 of the way through. It's a very quick read, and I'm really enjoying it. It is the palate cleanser that I was looking for, but one reason I wanted to come on here is I wanted to warn you, before I forgot, that there is some spice. Now, we've talked before, I think, about how folks talk about like open door versus closed door naughty scenes, like a naughty scene of like what you would see if somebody was, you know, getting busy in a room, an open door, like a book with open door romance scenes, or I don't even know how you're supposed to say it, but like open door is what you would see if somebody was in a room getting busy with the door open, and closed door is one of those like it's building up to them having sex or whatever, and then like the door closes and then the next scene is, you know, that they've done it but you don't encounter any of that. Well, so this isn't necessarily open door, like it's not graphic, but I mean, it's kind of a lot. So I would say like mostly closed door, but you're peeking in. So just be aware. Now, if you want to read the book and just not read those scenes and skip forward, you totally can. Like nothing happens during those scenes that propels the plot forward any more than just, you know, the folks getting busy. So I just wanted to jump on and, you know, be all awkward and let you know that before I forgot what I wanted to say about it. So I'm going to go and finish Undead and Unwed, and then I'm going to start Salem's Lot. Y'all, this is going to be our, I don't remember what the tag is, something about read a spooky book or a scary book or something. I thought I had read Salem's Lot back in the day. I don't think I have, because I don't remember reading any vampire Stephen King books, and this is a vampire Stephen King book. So I'm going to finish Undead and Unwed and then get started on this, and I'll come back, and I don't think anything else is going to happen in Undead and Unwed that I need to tell y'all about. But if it does, obviously I'll let you know, and then I'll get started on this, and once I kind of get good into this, I'll come back and let you know what I think of it. All right, so let me get some reading done, and I'll come back. Hey, y'all. I thought I'd check in and let you know how Salem's Lot is coming along. I finished up Undead and Unwed like I said I would, and I actually enjoyed that ending quite a bit. I really like Vampire Betsy. That, I don't know if I mentioned this, that book is the first in like a 15-book series or something, and I think they might still be writing those books, which is funny because the first book came out like 20 years ago. So Vampire Betsy is alive and well, or I guess dead and well, as it were. So finished Vampire Betsy, and I started Salem's Lot. I'm about 100 pages in. Y'all, I'm struggling. So Salem's Lot is about a small town called Salem's Lot, or Jerusalem's Lot, or The Lot, in like Maine or New Hampshire or one of those, I don't know, one of those cold states out there, where our main character, Ben, has come back. He spent part of his childhood in Salem's Lot and has come back. He had some kind of issue there, some kind of something happened to him in a haunted house, and he's come, so we have a haunted house already. So he's come back to deal with that, and as that's happening, some strangers have arrived in town. So those seem to be sort of the focal points of the story so far. And then a lot of other characters are sort of developing around them. There are a bunch of characters. I'm having trouble keeping them straight. I don't really care a whole lot about any of them, including Ben and the stranger that's come to town. And I don't know if that's because Stephen King is like building the story, so he's putting a bunch of pieces out there in the beginning and then he's going to use them to build the story, or if I really just don't care about his characters. So I'm going to keep reading, and I will let you know as we get into this thing if I grow to care about the characters or if I still just don't care. But I have noticed that there's a whole bunch of, I don't know, perseverating or just like rambling on and on about stuff that I like for pages, about stuff that I just don't care about. So I'm reading it now, like the going on and on and on part, but at some point I'm pretty sure I'm going to start skimming because, y'all, it's a lot. But I'm going to keep reading. And I'll check back in and let y'all know how it's going. I don't know if I'll check back in today because I want to get a good chunk read and get a real sense for what's going on and how I feel about it before I come back and let you know. So y'all sit tight and I'll come back when I have something to report. Y'all, hey, I just want to check in and let you know what's going on just in case things go terribly awry. You can contact the authorities and let them know what's happened. The intern and I are on a road trip with the furry felons. Look, there's Bo. And Daisy's over there. They're all partied out. Can you see her? She's over there. So like I said, we are on a road trip. We have gone, I don't know if y'all can even see out the window, to We've gone to Emily, Minnesota to see Dave Landau, who is one of my favorite comedians, perform. And the intern's sister was kind enough to loan us her mini Winnie, her little Winnebago, so that we could spend the night out here, slap in the middle of nowhere. Can y'all see that bug? So, you know how one of our book tags is to read a book either at night or in the dark? Well, y'all, I've been working on Salem's Lot. Y'all know this. So I'm going to sit here at night with it dark outside and read Salem's Lot. Now, I know you're thinking I've lost my mind, because you're thinking when I start reading this, it's going to open some mouth into the evil other world and vampires are going to come flying out of the woods and they're going to see us in this mini Winnie and say, oh, that's a can full of tasty treats, and just peel the top off of the thing and have themselves a nice little snack in the middle of the night. Well, I have the furry felons and the intern here to protect me, so we'll be all right. So anyway, I'm going to work on my read a book at night in the dark tag, and I will check back in and let y'all know how it's going. So far, Salem's Lot is dragging a bit. I'm enjoying the story, but Stephen King is very verbose. Like, he will not say in 5 pages what he can say in 15 pages. So I'm about 3/4 of the way through, and it's dragging a bit. But we have vampires and we have vampire hunters. So I think things are about to pick up. So I'm going to read. We're going to get some sleep. We're going to head home in the morning, and I'll check back in and let y'all know how things are going. Morning, y'all. I'm about to get on the bike. Just thought I would check in and let you know that we are almost done with Salem's Lot. I have fewer, actually I think well fewer than 100 pages to go. Maybe like 60 or 70 pages. So I should finish that on this ride. So let me do that. We're almost done with our book tags too. We read in the dark. We are reading a thriller. We read a book with a black or orange cover. Oh, and all of our novels have taken place in the fall. So you know how authors use seasons to show the passage of time? Well, Salem's Lot has definitely passed through seasons, and we've passed through fall. And I didn't mention it, but the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, we passed through fall in that one too, and it was football season, because it was the Auburn-Alabama game. Something like big was happening during the Auburn-Alabama football game. So that checked off the reading a book set in fall tag. So actually, yeah, let's count that one, because that's SEC football, go Dogs. So we'll finish reading Salem's Lot, and then we got to read is it manga or manga? I feel like I'm saying that wrong. Because I say manga, like mango. Manga, novella, or graphic novel. So we'll finish Salem's Lot, we'll read one of those, and then we're out, because I feel like this vlog is going exceptionally long. So let me go read. I'll come back and give you my final thoughts on Salem's Lot, and then we'll talk about how we're going to hit the final tag, and then we're out. So I'll be back. Y'all, we are done with Salem's Lot. I want to give you a final couple of thoughts, but I got to make me some coffee. So I figure I can make my coffee while we talk about Salem's Lot. So I finished reading it on the bike, and y'all, I had to take a break. It was a lot, and I was hot, and I was tired, and I was sweating. So I took a break about halfway through my ride and went ahead and read the novella, because remember we had a read a novella tag that we had to do. So I read, I think it's called The Executive Suite. I'll throw a picture in here. It was on Kindle Unlimited, and I had already picked it out. I don't know if I just Googled thriller novella or something, and I guess it was kind of a thriller. It wasn't vampire-y, it wasn't scary, but it wasn't really even thrilling. But it was a novella in that, I mean, it fit the definition. It's centered around one event or like one occurrence. It was these people that got kind of kidnapped into an executive suite in a hotel and like forced to confess to something. It wasn't great, it wasn't awful. It was self-published. All right, this might be a me issue, not like an actual book, like story issue, but the grammar got all up next to me. There were some grammar issues in it. And again, y'all, I know that I'm over the top about grammar. I know that about myself. So I say that to say that maybe that was my issue, not an issue with the actual writing. But there were some grammar issues, and I felt like the author was trying to do entirely too much in too little of a space, which is often an issue with a novella. Like, there's only so much you can do in a novella, and often authors try to do too much. But anyway, it was fine. And we checked off the novella box, and so then I finished Salem's Lot. And let me say this about Salem's Lot. I 100% know and understand. All right, let's let the coffee make itself. We'll move over there. Let me say this about Salem's Lot. I 100% know and understand that Salem's Lot is an absolute classic in the sort of horror, thriller, vampire book space. I don't love it. I don't know what it is. I just don't love it. Stephen King, ooh, that's an awful, let's turn this way. That's a lot of light. Stephen King intersperses like real like horror and tragedy into Salem's Lot. Like, I'll give you a couple of examples, but I don't want to say too much because I don't want to intersperse horror and tragedy into my vlog. But like, there's one character, a female character, who cheats on her husband. Not okay, but in retribution for her cheating on him, he beats her and then forces sex on her every night. And that's just like mentioned matter-of-factly, like he just does this, and then like the story goes on. And then there's like, y'all, that's awful. And it's not presented like it's okay, but it's just presented. And there's another scene where a character looks into like the face of evil, into like the face of a vampire or something, and the narrator likens it to children. The book was written published in 75, so it's like prime Vietnam era. So, you know, people who were reading the book at the time, you know, are dealing with that trauma and stuff coming, you know, the nation just ripped up with Vietnam trauma and stuff. And so this character looks into the face of a vampire, and it's likened to somebody looking into the face of a child being sex trafficked in Vietnam. And it's not like graphic, but it's more graphic than that, and I'm just not going to say the words. But y'all, I honest to goodness almost stopped reading right then, but I was like, I'm going to finish this book because I want to be able to talk about it. But I found that so off-putting, like, I don't know. Again, I know that it's a classic in the horror book space, and I know that it was written in 1975, and there are things that, you know, were okay to do back then that we just, not that child sex trafficking was okay to do back then, but there was writing that was okay to do back then that's not okay to do now. I would be okay with never again in my entire life reading another piece of literature like this. I have another Stephen King book, Billy Summers, I think, that I have seen reviews of and read reviews of it. Well, good Lord, this has like a 4 something high on Goodreads. So don't know that I trust the reviews anymore, but sorry, the coffee is being very noisy now. I was going to read Billy Summers. I'm probably still going to read it. I read the Stephen King book that's the like fixing the assassination of JFK book. I read that one. Man, I don't know. Man, I just need to get away from having read Salem's Lot and calm myself down because I'm hungry and I'm tired and I'm sweaty and I'm just like this right now. So y'all, I'm gonna step away. But we finished our tags. That was the thriller book tag, and we did the novella book tag in between. So we have tagged all of our tags. So y'all, SummerWeen has come to a successful end. Y'all, thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you made it this far, we are most definitely friends. So go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so you can keep up with the shenanigans. I upload food and fitness videos at the beginning of every week with some book videos sprinkled in between. See you on the next one.